We have a golden and lab mix.
Okay.
So he's our little baby.
Yeah.
We
Is it
love
truly a
him.
baby or a
He's
big
almost
one?
2.
Okay.
So he's a big baby, but he
Yeah.
definitely thinks he's a lap dog still and will
Yeah.
plop himself on my lap
I love that.
and just no regard to how large he is at all.
But I think I would have a smaller dog because I'm a smaller person. I feel like I need something I can control. Or maybe I should go the other way and just get something I can ride. Like, okay, come on.
Yeah, get a horse.
Come on, Belvedere.
Or a Great Dane.
Yeah, Great Dane that I could just get on and you can trot me down to the grocery or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That is too funny.
Gosh, take a second. We jumped right in, but maybe just introduce yourself.
Yeah,
Officially,
definitely.
for the record.
So my name's Madison Zulywitz. I recently started with Doug in August, so I might be a new face to some people. I am the new event coordinator at Doug, so I help specifically with the local meetup programs as well as our regional meetups and honestly just wherever else I'm needed. So I'm sure you will be seeing a lot of me, especially if you were in the local meetup groups. And like I think I had mentioned before, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina with my husband and our little doggy. So yeah, I'm super excited. I'm glad that we are doing this podcast. I'm super excited about the podcast. This was a great idea.
Yeah.
He was he was supposed to be a service dog and he didn't quite make the cut. So he's our service dog dropout is what we call him.
Just wasn't quite ready for the service aspect
He didn't
of it.
quite make it. He's a very good pet though, and
Yeah.
just not a great service dog. He was too lazy and didn't want to work was the direct quote from the company. They said,
Yeah.
he's not very motivated to be a working dog. I'm like, yeah, that explains him.
I was going to ask, 'cause sometimes it's the other way. It's like they're too excited. Like you see a service dog, like a really good service
No.
dog, and they're like on point. Like they're not squirrel. It doesn't matter. They're just like focused, hyper focused, and they don't get distracted. And maybe that's a problem for some dogs. Like they're just like, what? I can't handle it.
Sutter is just whole sleep on the job all the time. Like that was his thing. He would just fall asleep or unless you had a treat in your hand, he wouldn't care. He has no interest.
Service dog hat is just down like this, just snores coming out from under it.
He was not the best service. I think he lasted 2 months in training and they were like, oh, he's not going to make the cut. So and now he's a forever dog.
Does your husband travel? Do you have to worry about like kenneling him or people watching him when you're out?
No, he doesn't travel, but he does work in person. So when I travel, we board him for the day just because otherwise he'd be gone for too long. But no, unless we're traveling together and we have like friends and family that can watch him. But we'll go to South Africa like usually once a year because that's where his family is from. Yeah. And that's a big trip. So we'll usually leave Sutter with my mom or with a family member or something. So
Is he a first gen? Then he'd moved here from South Africa?
Yeah, all of his friends and family still live in South Africa.
Wow.
He moved here when he was 22, maybe, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just for fun or for college or?
He originally moved here for work because of the conversion rate. Like you can work in the States and bring back a lot of money in rand, which is their currency. Yep. So originally that was the goal. And then he met me and then he got stuck here. So
I love it. All of a sudden the checks stopped coming back and the parents are like, what's going on over there? I don't know.
Pretty much. He always tells people that he came for work, but he stayed for me. And I'm like, well, I like that. I like that explanation.
So in your current job, you travel, how often are you traveling now to events?
Typically like once a month, I would say, for regional events and for anything else that we have going on. Yeah. I joined in August, so that was kind of the end of the year as to what would typically be our travel schedule. So not as much at the end of this year, but the beginning of next year and starting all throughout next year, I'll be traveling a lot. And that's actually something I wanted to talk about on our call was our regionals for next year.
Yeah. Do you like traveling? Is it something you enjoy?
I love it. I am a big traveler. My husband and I travel all the time, or I'll go on girls' trips with my friends. And we live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so it's pretty close to go kind of anywhere on the coast,
Yeah.
like drivable at least. So we'll go on weekend trips a lot. We love Charleston and Savannah and Jacksonville and all of those places along the coast.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, we'll go to South Africa a lot because of my husband's family. I did a backpacking trip throughout Europe for a month, which was awesome. So would love to do that at one other point in my life at some point in time, but would love to do Asia. So we'll see one of these days.
I grew up in the East Coast, and that's one of the areas that just never, I mean, I'm up and down the East Coast, like you said, just day trips, you know, weekenders or whatever. Did a lot of time at the beach. I love, you know, I grew up in Northern Virginia, so it was either early on straight out to Maryland, so Ocean City, later on maybe a little north to like Dewey or Rehoboth, or down south into the Carolinas, you know, Outer Banks and Myrtle Beach. But I never made it to Savannah or some of those really cool, like old, you know,
they're
country
awesome.
cities. Yeah.
They've got lots of character. That's why we like them. There's so many cool, like little mom and pop shops there, or people that have been there for forever, and like the cobblestone streets. I mean, it's gorgeous. We go there. I would say that we usually go somewhere on the coast at least once or twice a year. We actually were just in Charleston last weekend. So very fun. We love it.
So I love traveling too. I mean, and I've been doing more of it like early on for like events like we put on, you know, like, you know, DynamicsCon or even regionals. I would travel as an end user for just maybe the one, and then we did local events.
What's the best place you've been?
Boy, I mean, I'd say hands down, I went to Vancouver for an event a couple of years ago. It was not it wasn't in the Dynamics community. It was actually a crazy thing. It was a lottery conference. So it was a conference of all the lotteries
funny.
in our country as well as internationally. So it was like an international lottery conference. And when I worked at Ellipse Solutions, part of my job was public sector, and that included, we had 2 lotteries that we worked with. So I was trying to figure out and learn more about lottery, you know, industry and folks, and just meet people and just kind of be a part of the community. So this happened to be the event, and I went straight from Orlando and Summit, flew out to Vancouver. So I went from, it was just it was crazy to me. Number one, it was like there was, you know, thousands of people at this event in Orlando, and it's crazy and it's like frenetic and nonstop. And I flew to Vancouver, and it's like 300 maybe tops. And it's if you've ever been to Vancouver, it's just this beautiful little city.
I have not,
but
I've always wanted to.
Yeah, it's tucked right on the edge of the, you know, up there at the, you know, on the ocean, and there's a bay, and it's just beautiful and such a different experience, laid back experience. But it was just, again, it was just beautiful. Mountains, ocean, really laid back community, and just overall beautiful. And I went back that was in the fall to winterish, like November. October,
really?
November. And it was a little chilly, but not terrible. But I went back in May, and it was just, again, just gorgeous. You got to hike and do some, you know, some extra sightseeing.
I've heard people compare it to Switzerland. Like, it's very like mountainous and beautiful, like blue rivers. And I've heard that it's gorgeous. I've always wanted to go there, and Yosemite National Park. Those are like my 2 top places to visit, I would say. That in Asia, but Asia will be a ways away to like.
That's
to get
a big
there.
one. Yeah, you want to plan that one out and be.
It's a very big trip.
But when I do travel, I like to, if I can, like sometimes you're traveling, it's quick. But if I have any extra moment, I love to just find all the fun things that you can do, even if it means staying out a little later, you know, whatever, you know, doing something early. Just fun to, like, wherever you are as you're visiting a state, a city, a country, to have some time to find the fun stuff that you can do there.
Oh, definitely so. Especially when I travel for the regionals, I try and do at least one fun thing while I'm there, whether that's like trying a new restaurant or going to a baseball game or something, you know, when we wrap up the day, just because I'm probably never going to be in that city again. So, or I haven't been there before. So it's nice to kind of explore some new things. I really enjoy it, but I feel the exact same way. Love traveling as much as I can. I try to.
Yeah, the last event I did, I bought tickets to Rocky Horror Picture Show. It just happened to be playing at a theater, at a haunted theater in San Antonio, and I grabbed about 5 or 6 extra people, and we went down. Most of them hadn't seen it. They're from Slovakia or Slovenia.
Oh, cool.
Had never been to American theater, and so it was like, this is their first experience. It was wild to watch them watching the show at times. I would just kind of turn and watch, and just they were sitting back in amazement, just enjoying it and having a good time.
That's very cool. It is very interesting seeing like other people seeing things for the first time. So we have Tristan's whole family is coming to the States for the first time this upcoming May. And we're like, gosh, what do we even show them? Then I asked them, like, what do you guys want to see? And they're like, the grocery store. Like, are you really? And they're like, yep, we want to see the grocery store. That's the top place that they wanted to go see, because that was what Tristan was like amazed by the grocery stores here when he saw it. And I was like, that's too funny.
I'm not going to lie, though. The first time I went to Myrtle Beach, it was the first time I think I saw like people giving out snacks on every aisle.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where it was.
Oh,
I was down in Myrtle Beach, yeah, I don't know where it was, but I just know as a poorer, teenage guy at a beach who didn't have a lot of food, it was like, okay, well, we're definitely coming back here.
Oh, yeah. I went to Costco every Sunday with my mom because they would have the samples, like when I was growing up, everywhere in the stores. So you'd go just to get free food. It was the best. I loved it.
Yeah. So what's the big grocery store then in Charlotte?
I would say probably Harris Teeter.
Okay.
I am an Aldi fan. That is a hot take. Not everybody loves Aldi, but I love it. But that's probably not the biggest one. I would say like Harris Teeter, or up in the mountains, it's Ingles, but we don't really have that in Charlotte.
Yeah, we don't have an Aldi out here. My parents do. They're in Richmond.
Oh, you're missing it.
I haven't been, but I think it looks like a pretty cool place. Very Trader Joe-esque. It's got its own stuff. And I know there's this like Aldi's like aisle of shame where you go down and there's like all the cool stuff that people buy. And they post on the TikToks and the Reels. I see them posting about all the things they're getting that they shouldn't be getting, I guess.
Yep, and I'm on those TikToks and Reels, and I watch them and decide to go to the store. I watch them and we're like, well, I need that, so then let me go to the store. And now they've got all their Christmas stuff up. So I bought this like ridiculous, like huge Santa blow up. I come home with it, and my husband's like, what on earth is that? I'm like, well, I found it in the Aldi Finds aisle, so we have to do it. It was like ridiculously cheap. I'm like, so obviously we needed a 30-foot Santa in our front yard.
Yeah, doesn't everybody? I mean, at the end of the day.
Exactly, doesn't everybody?
You feel like once you see people around your neighborhood who have the 30-foot Santa, you're like, wow, how do we live like these heathens in life where we didn't have giant inflatable,
how do you live without it? All of our neighbors go like all out for Christmas too. So there's somebody in our neighborhood who was on that the Great Christmas Light Fight show, or do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
I do, yeah.
So they were on that show, and they are like ridiculous with their house, so nobody can ever compete with them. But because of that, we get people coming into our neighborhood to go and like look at Christmas lights. So I think everybody kind of goes a little bit above and beyond. So we take Christmas very seriously.
Or you see the person who's got a sign that says what that guy did or something, like as like ditto.
Double that.
yeah, double that guy. So we're traveling together coming up here in just a few weeks. Have you planned anything out for Chicago other than all the cool stuff we're going to be doing with the meetup later?
No, not yet. I did go to, last time we were in Chicago, I went to the largest Starbucks. I don't know if it's the largest Starbucks in the world, but it was like a 3-story high Starbucks, and they had all sorts of different foods and drinks, and it was really, really neat. So I did that last time. And I've been to the Bean before, so I didn't go last time we were there.
That's the big chrome thing, right?
Yep. You got to get a picture in front of the Bean. Yep. And then we did a river cruise last time we were there. So that was really, really cool. We did one of those architecture cruises. And Bobby, I know you probably don't remember it, but you were there technically with your face cut out sign.
Yeah. Just
we did have the face cut out there.
Yeah, I think it was this face.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that one too. I think all of us have a picture recreating that face, actually.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
But I think I know you had mentioned going to Annie this time, so maybe we'll have to talk more about that. But I would be interested in going to Annie. That was
definitely. It's still on my list there to look at. I'm waiting to see if anything else shakes out that would take me away from that opportunity. But as I was looking, Annie's one of my favorite movies growing up.
Me too. I loved Annie.
Yeah, I loved Annie, and so I was like, wow, I've seen it once, but it was a local, either high school or local theater production, which it was good, but it'd be interesting to see at that next level, just to see. I mean, I just again love the music and love the energy of the show. So
Yeah, definitely. I saw the only play that I've seen is Mary Poppins, and I was very fortunate to only see it on Broadway. So I feel like I got the best of the best experience.
Yeah.
But I've never been to another play, and I loved Annie growing up. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I would be super interested to go to that. I think it would be fun. Always
That's
down to try new things.
one of my things. So I do see a lot, like, the little bit of, like, I don't do a lot of concerts, but I do a lot of theater. So Denver has a really good like traveling theater company that and they get a lot of, like, we just watched the Broadway opening of what was it?
Was it Wicked? Wicked was just out for a while.
I saw Wicked. It's Kimberly Akimbo. So that was one of the top, like, Tony Award winners from last Tonys. And so it had its Broadway premiere here. So it's
that's cool.
Premiere here and then moving on towards Broadway, and then they'll pick up there.
Or now, do you participate in any of the plays, or do you just watch?
At the DCPA level, I'm just watching. But I do. I've acted in a local theater group for about 20 years.
Cool.
So, yeah.
That's very cool. What's your favorite play that you've done?
There's a couple. Yeah. So probably the best, like, the most fun, just from a standpoint of having all the dialogue and being on stage most of the time. So I just got a lot of opportunity. I was Wilbur in Charlotte's Web, the musical.
Oh, I haven't thought about Charlotte's Web in forever. I think that was the first, like, real book that I read as a kid, was Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, me too. I don't know if you remember, I love the illustrations. The illustrator is a guy named Garth Williams. And I just loved his. If you see him, once you know him, you see him throughout, literature, kids lit, in those early children's books. Those little golden books, he's done a ton of those. So you'll recognize, like, wow, this is a Garth Williams. Because he's got a very distinct style. So yeah, that was definitely a fun one. But also probably the most notable, I played the Cowardly Lion and the Wizard of Oz.
That's awesome. I've been meaning to go watch the new movie that's coming out, the one that, like, Ariana Grande is in. Yeah. And, gosh, who's that? The other lady who plays the witch. Do you remember her name?
Erivo?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have been wanting to watch that.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I think it's not out yet. I think you've got time to see the premiere if you want to. It's coming out, I want to say, like right
this
before,
month, right?
Yeah, right before Thanksgiving, like the 21st or 22nd or something.
It's on my list. I feel like we, we should be getting paid sponsorships.
Yeah, sponsorship, exactly. We'll go back retroactively, like try to peddle some sponsorships.
Exactly. But I feel like we've been lacking good movies recently, so hopefully that this was a good one, because I love going to the movies and feel like it's not as common anymore for people to go to, like, the actual movie theater to go watch a movie, because you can get it on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, but nothing beats a movie in the theater. So I'm glad we got a good one.
You mentioned, what your job is helping to coordinate and assist and do whatever, be the right-hand person to the local groups. And that includes this event we're going to, in Chicago.
Yeah, definitely.
Why is it so exciting? I mean, what's exciting you about, getting the leaders together? And by the way, this is the toughest thing for me to say. I keep saying lead up meterships and I gotta get this out of it's like the worst. I can't say it, but the leadership meetup.
Heard what the words we were throwing around. We were trying to come up with the name of what this would be called. I mean, there were some outlandish ideas that all of us threw out of, like, what should we call this? So it was a long time coming until we came to Leader Meetup Retreat.
Leader Palooza. I love it.
Yeah, I think that was one that we had originally thrown out, actually.
Anything Palooza has got to be a part of the conversation.
Yep, it definitely was. But no, I'm super excited. This will be our first Leader Retreat that we are doing. So I think it'll be awesome to, first of all, get feedback in person from our leaders as to, how their local groups are doing and what we can do to better support them on the Doug side of thing. But there's also lots of common topics, I would say, that we see kind of trending as to issues or areas that leaders could use some help in. A lot of it is like helping gaining more people at their events, or how to market their event better, or how to get more end users there. So I think it'll be really great to have some open discussion forums as well, where all of our leaders can kind of share what's worked for them and their meetup, and what's not working, or I've tried this and it didn't work, but this helped instead. And I think kind of within the leaders all collaborating with each other, it'll lead to some good conversations and growth and continue to help our community grow. And as well as just getting to see everybody in person and networking. A lot of our leaders haven't met each other yet. So being able to meet in person before our big DynamicsCon conference in May, it will be awesome. So I'm definitely glad that we'll have an opportunity to see everybody and network and gain some knowledge. So super excited about it.
And how many folks are showing up?
We have 38, I believe.
Awesome.
Yep, 38. So we have a good crowd, and there's even some people coming from across the seas. So
I was going to say, this is not just
it will be very cool.
Nationally, this is international, which is
international.
Incredible, yeah.
Yep, it will be very cool. So I think even just learning, all meetups are so different, as well as what I've learned in this position is every single meetup runs very differently and has different attendance and different people, different topics. So it'll be really interesting to see everybody kind of collaborate and hear ideas from each other, and just to see the differences. So
it's got to make it fun for you. Like, some people to be fair, some people do like rote, like I like everything to be the same. It starts, it ends, it does things. And others like the spontaneity of the life in that way. And it sounds like you're on that side. It's like, hey, Denver's meetup is doing it this way, and Dallas is doing it this way, and Chicago and Ohio and all these different folks have different ideas. And like you said, you come together, and it'll be interesting to see what stretches out of that. Like, oh, I'm going to take this, and I didn't even think about that. And it's good to hear you're having success in this. And I've talked to probably about 5 or so folks that can't make it. Folks that I've known for a while that I just said, hey, you're not going to be there, but if you want to chat for a minute, and I'll be your voice there. I'll take your ideas and
definitely
bring them forward. So it's been fun hearing all the different feedback and excitement around, like you said, learning and building and figuring out how we can reach more people to engage in the overall community.
Yeah, and hopefully this won't be our last one either. The goal is to have this be our first one, but for it to continually be an annual thing where we can get all of our meetup leaders together and share ideas and network and all of that. And like you had mentioned before, I love that every meetup is very different. It's an awesome way for me to get to meet people from all around the world. So that's one of my personal favorite parts of my job, is just being able to get to talk to all different types of people. And everybody's daily life is so different as well. And lots of people that use Dynamics 365 all use it in very different ways with very different jobs. So it's really interesting to hear, even just when listening to some of the virtual meetups, as to how people are using it in their daily lives and how people are implementing it into their work, with things that I never would have even thought it would have been involved in. So I personally love learning about the technology side of it as well. I find it really interesting. So it keeps me on my toes for sure.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I come from a technology background, so it's natural, but even so, it's still so much to it that even, I haven't seen or learned. And so it's fun to hear from other really smart people talking about something that I don't know about it. Even if I know about it, it's fun to just kind of hear deeper thoughts around it.
Yes, 100%.
And like you said, we've got folks, end users, ISVs, partners, Microsoft running these communities and being the meetup leaders. It's a total variety. So you're learning little different levels of how everybody's viewing the overall system and what we have.
Something that is super interesting as well is I come from a background of multiple different industries, and this is really the main industry that I've been in, where everybody in the community is so willing to help. I mean, everybody has such a large amount of knowledge and have been in this industry for 20 plus years, and they know tricks and tips and all of this, and all they want to do is share the knowledge, share the wealth. And I think that's awesome how willing everybody in the community is to step up and continue community. I mean, this community would not be alive if it wasn't for the members of the community. So being able to see everybody step up and want to be involved and volunteer is really, really special, and something that you don't see very often in industries, and it's very refreshing. So I definitely enjoy it just from that aspect of things.
I know there are other, conferences for other software, like, SAP or Salesforce. They have huge conferences. But you're right. I feel like it probably doesn't matter what they're doing, but I do get that same feeling that this is a special community that really cares about its members and sharing that wealth of knowledge. There's just so many people at the highest level that will drop, what they're doing at a moment's notice to reach out and help somebody in community. And that is special. Like I said, again, it feels like I haven't seen it. And I know folks who work in other industries.
Yeah.
And I don't hear them talking about, oh yeah, I'm heading off to the monthly user group meeting, with 40, 50, 60, 70 people in some cases. We're having one in Denver next week. We're up to 52 people attending.
That's awesome.
So yeah, this, we're feeling that power of community to come together, which again, like you said, is awesome. And I was going to ask, this is a very, I grew up in the industry. I grew up being a part of the community. So this, me joining a community organization just was kind of a rolling freight train that I didn't know back then, but started to realize I was the engineer, like driving the thing right into community. Were you community minded in your other jobs? Like, how did you fall into this role? And what excited you about community?
It is very interesting how I fell into this role, actually. So kind of taking it all the way back, I went to college for hospitality, but specifically I focused in country and golf club management. So very, very niche sector. But I loved it. I loved the idea of the community in country and golf club management. I originally wanted to be a general manager of a golf course or of a golf club. So within country clubs, it's a little community of people. Typically, they all live in the community as well. But I really loved being able to service the needs of a community and help curate like specific events for them and kind of help create memories for people. That's what my passion has always been. And to the core, that's what I've always loved doing. Whether that be in my personal life or my professional life, I've always really, really enjoyed that. And I did lots of internships throughout college and jobs here and there. So I worked a lot of golf tournaments. So I worked the Masters tournament. I've worked multiple different PGA tournaments before. And it was so neat being able to see some of these people attending these golf tournaments. Like, this was a lifetime dream and goal for them. And especially when working at the Masters, we focus on every little detail that you could possibly think of, whether it's if one flower isn't the color that it's supposed to be, we would spray paint it to be the color it's supposed to be. There would be speakers in the bushes so that you hear birds chirping, and the grass needed to be mowed every single day perfectly. And it's little things that people don't think about or don't realize, but all of it comes together to create a special moment for somebody. And so being able to walk around and see, a man who this has been their dream for years and years to be able to come to this event was really, really cool. So it's kind of partially what helped spark my interest in it. And I worked for Make-A-Wish Foundation for a while. So I worked specifically on like the sponsorship events. So I would help host all of the events that would help raise money for kids' wishes. And I also helped with planning some of the kids' wishes. So that was really cool because it was somebody's lifetime wish and lifetime goal. And it was kind of their own little mini event that you could plan and curate for them.
I think I just saw that John Cena holds the record for most
he's great.
wishes granted. Yeah, I can't remember if it was over 200 or 400. It was a large number of wishes granted.
Is fantastic and helps.
Why
so
not?
Much
I mean, what a great use. I mean, if, once this podcast blows up and people are just looking to have me, I'm giving all my. I mean, if you had that kind of power, again, facetiously, but if you had that kind of power as a celebrity or somebody who had a voice, and I would make all the time for that. I mean, just an incredible way to give back.
He really, really is the best and has helped Make-A-Wish Foundation so much. And I really, truly loved working there. I also realized that I didn't think that I could do it as my full-time job because it was a very like emotionally investing job. Yeah. And I give so much props and amazement to the people that do work there. But it was great. I got to help people create their lifetime experiences. So I worked in events for a while, and then somehow I ended up getting into contracting work, and I started off at doing data entry, and then I started doing customer compliance within logistics. So I worked a little bit with supply chain and got a little bit of knowledge there. I worked in SAP, and then I moved on to be a data analyst, and I worked in that for a little bit. So I got some good background knowledge of technology. And then these were all contract roles, so I was really looking for something that was full-time, somewhere where I could grow and stay with a company and grow within the community. And I also wanted to get back to what my passion was and what my roots were with events. So magically, I somehow found Doug, which basically combines the two of them. So the mix of technology and a mix of events, and I'm still helping curate special events for people, and it's awesome. I love it. I don't know how I got so lucky to find something that compiles the two things that I love. And because I do have a passion for technology as well, I love continually learning about things. And it's just awesome. So I got very lucky and found something that worked perfectly for me. And I really now get to enjoy meeting all of the local meetup leaders and helping them curate the special events that they host for people to help them grow in their careers. And then on top of that, I get to plan the regional events, which we typically attend in person. So it's nice to be able to meet these leaders that you've been working with so much in person and get to know them on a more personal level as well. So that's kind of the long story of how I got here.
At the end of the day, a lot of the things you loved, like even about the Make-A-Wish, I mean, you're still, the gravity's not quite the same, but when you put together an event, like a regional or a national or even a local, you're helping out, those folks come in and they leave smiling and thinking about the education they had and excited to attend the next one. Then it's the feeling similar. Again, it's maybe not quite as emotional like you said, but even then, like, leaving an event like DynamicsCon is emotional. Like I always get a huge hangover as we're leaving out of there. It's like
very emotional.
It's emotional. It's like you're saying goodbye to all these folks, thousands of people that you've met. A lot of them you've known for a long time, and it is there is a lot that goes into it, and so you do want to put your effort and energy and passion into making it the best experience, painting every flower and making the birds chirp at every corner. That's an important part. That this should be almost a magical, Willy Wonka-esque moment when they open the door and it's just like,
and everything's there for you, and all you have to worry about is focusing on the education, and it's like your every need is being catered to. So that's the goal. And I really, really enjoy it. Even I'm really excited for DynamicsCon this year. This will be my first DynamicsCon that I'm attending in person. So it'll be awesome to get to see a lot of people in person and help with this very large event as well. So it'll be super interesting. I'm very excited about it.
Will this be the largest conference? I mean, the Masters is pretty huge. I mean, if you've been there, but slightly different setup.
Is bigger.
But maybe it's bigger. I mean, not everybody gets to get into the Masters.
Yes, this is true. I do wish that
we have plenty of room for everybody to show up at DynamicsCon.
Exactly. We've got plenty of room. And let me tell you, I got my steps in when we did our tour. It is a very, very large space, and we are going to have lots and lots of content. And wear your stepwatches, because you will definitely get your count.
We need to find out a way to gamify a step contest when we get out there.
We definitely should. I think that's a great idea. Everybody join a group on your Apple Watch or something.
I tell you what, I'm 100% sure that that a few people we know named John and Jake, I think one year at a big conference, they wrote an app of some sort that was like a guerrilla effort to count. I think so. I definitely, there was like a groundswell, and I'm pretty sure it was Jake that was involved. I'll have to ask him to see if I'm remembering that right. But
we need to get that started back up again.
Yeah, dust that thing off and bring it back out, because it was fun. I mean, I was in meetings and I was a gal I was with. She was really competitive. We were fighting to be the top step getter, and we would look and it'd be like, I've got 11,000. I've got 23,000. And then somebody, I forget who it was, like Jane was like 44,000 steps. Like, no way.
Oh my God.
She was like double above everybody else. And I was like, oh my goodness. what is she? How is she doing this? You know,
that's like Molly.
She's just walking around the inside of the classroom nonstop.
That's
just
crazy.
Pacing back and forth. Crazy.
Molly just did this walk, and it was like, I think it was like 20 miles a day or something. Yeah. And she walked like some ridiculous amount of miles like within the week. And yeah, I was like, I don't know how you do that. I'd collapse. Props to her. I don't know how she does it.
I mean, you put on a lot of miles at events like those, like these larger ones, these national events. Because sometimes you're here and you got to walk all the way over here and then back over here and then over here and back here again. And
especially with our roles, we're going to be going all sorts of different places. Not necessarily as much as the attendees, but we will definitely be getting our steps in for sure.
Yeah, we'll be doing it early, like 3 days before the event. Prepping and walking, and prepping and walking, and prepping and walking. And so, at the end of the event, you'll see us collapse, in the corner, like as the last person leaves, we just all hit the ground. And
we're all going to be exhausted, but it will be.
The staff of the hotel just picks us up and carries us to our room and puts us in bed, and we sleep.
We're doing gurneys, I think.
Exactly. Piles us onto gurneys.
It will be very fun, though. We'll have to think of some other fun stuff to do in Chicago. We're visiting Chicago a lot within this year and next. So
yeah, I'm sure there'll be another site visit or two, and different times a year, and lots. I mean, what a great city! A lot of stuff to do there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They have some great restaurants. I did try the Chicago deep dish pizza. I don't know if I was the biggest fan of the deep dish pizza, but they did have other good places there, so I've heard. So we've got lots of time to try some new restaurants.
I do like a Chicago-style hot dog. It's an interesting hot dog.
Ooh, I don't know if I've had a Chicago hot dog before.
Yeah, it's distinct. It's got first, it's got a poppy seed bun, so that's number one.
Ooh.
And don't even say ketchup. Hot dog vendor will like literally take you and move you down the block.
Really?
So no ketchup. It's only mustard. And then they add tomatoes.
I don't know how I feel about that.
And peppers. And
interesting.
Relish.
So I do like relish, but the rest of it is interesting. Ryan did end up taking us to some hot dog spot. It's supposed to be a famous hot dog spot in Chicago. I could not remember. I don't remember. Maybe they had like cars on the ceiling and stuff. It was a very cool restaurant, but we did have Chicago hot dogs there, but I did not get tomatoes and pickles and all of that fun jazz on mine. I think I skipped out on that.
A new age-old debate on whether or not a hot dog is a sandwich, because at the end of the day, it's meat on bread.
Well, that's like saying, is ravioli a Pop-Tart?
Maybe.
Right?
That's pretty cool Pop-Tart. I mean, it's stretching the boundary.
Or is a smoothie a sauce? You could go anywhere with that.
We are opening up. We're creating just just planting seeds for people to pick up on.
Everybody comment
further debates. Yeah.
Right in the comments what you think is
a smoothie a sauce? Yes or no?
That would be a hot take, but you never know.
That's a super hot take. Yeah. What are you pouring it over? Are you pouring it over regular spaghetti, or are you pouring it over other berries?
I get the physical newspaper still, simply because I like the Sudoku puzzles in them. Yeah. So every single day, like clockwork, I'm sitting there and doing the Sudoku puzzles in the newspaper.
I love Sudoku too. Yeah, that's definitely good mind,
the
spinning
mind
activity.
Games.
Yeah.
And I think my grandma taught me how to do it, and I've done it since I was like, probably like 10 years old. I was playing Sudoku, and cool. I've gotten pretty good at it over the years.
Do you do that in your head, or do you write the numbers down? So you
all in my head.
Yeah, that's the way I like to try to do it too. Like I try to, keep it in my head as I'm looking. Like, oh yeah, this one can't go here because of this, and try to do it in my head where I can.
I like to think that it's keeping me sharp. I don't really know how true that is, but in my mind, it's working.
I 100%. Yeah, it's like if I can get through a Sudoku and in some amount of time that's reasonable and not like 4 weeks, then I'm doing pretty good.
I'll time myself. That's what I do on airplane rides all the time, unless it's like crazy long, but I try not to watch like movies or shows on an airplane. So instead I'll just sit there and do Sudoku for the whole plane ride. That's what we should do for our DynamicsCon agendas. On the back of the agenda, put crosswords and little games for everybody.
I feel like we definitely could do connections, some kind of fun connections.
That's an idea.
I'm writing that down too. I think that's a good idea for local meetings, like just like quick connections on different dynamics things. Yeah.
That could be fun. We should table that.
Yep. I'm writing, I'm not writing them down because we're talking, but I'm mentally writing them down.
Exactly. That's all we need.
So hopefully not forget later. Anything we missed in community? This has been a fun conversation. Again, I talked about it in my first episode, just what this podcast is about and getting to know the community and why we do what we do. So it was fun to hear from you about why you're doing what you do.
Yeah, definitely. I did want to share, just for anybody that's curious, we have our regional meetups scheduled for 2025. We're still figuring out kind of some of the fine details. So not everything has registration open yet, but I wanted to go ahead and share those dates and get them out there and locations for everybody. So we have our Canadian regional ones coming up on November 26th in Toronto,
I will be there.
Canada. Yes, Bobby will be there. It'll be very fun and exciting. Liz will also be there. And then we have our Southeast Regional meetup in Tampa, Florida on January 15th, 2025. I will be there, and I believe Liz and Molly will also be there. This one had unfortunately gotten rescheduled from October due to the hurricane. So we are excited to finally be in Tampa. We're going to have our Northeast Regional in Massachusetts in February of 2025, our Pacific Northwest Regional in Portland, Oregon in March of 2025, Colorado, your hometown, Bobby, our Colorado Regional in April of 2025 in potentially Denver, Colorado. We are going to Ghana, which I am super excited about. We're going to have our Ghana Regional in July of 2025 in Accra, Ghana. And we're also going to Kenya in July of 2025. We're going to Nairobi, Kenya. Again, Ohio in August of 2025. We'll be in Dublin, Ohio. Texas again in September of 2025, and Dallas, Texas next year, and another Canadian regional in November of 2025 in Toronto, Canada. So we're super excited to finally get these months and places out. We are planning hard to hopefully get some more information on these soon. But hopefully, if we're coming to an area near you, you can come and join us. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. The regionals are a nice way to, locals are good, but if you don't have one really local, sometimes a regional can fill that gap. And the other thing they do is if you can't make it to a national, like, hey, I just can't travel. This year they're sending, Joe and Jane or, and Betty, they can't send me, so I can't go to the national one, but I can hit a regional, which is just a broader spectrum of folks that you can network with and a few more opportunities for education. So the regionals are nice in that way to kind of fill those gaps.
Yeah, definitely. It's also just a little bit larger in scope than the local meetups. So it's a good way to meet different people in your region, and it's full days of education with multiple different tracks. So
exactly,
definitely would suggest joining them if you're able to. And they're free events as well.
A lot of times the locals are one product. It's F&O or it's BC, and these are, like you said, multi-track, and so you got multi-product, and we'll put a link when we publish this out. We'll put a link to the page to get joined in, and so you're getting the information flow. Get signed up to your local meetup group. So if you got one locally, you'll know when they're having events, and they'll publish the regionals as well. So you'll get to see all those cool things in your inbox or on your social feeds. So thanks for sharing that. I'm excited to go to Canada, but I got to start poking Molly to make sure I get to go to Dublin, because I've been to Ireland. I love it there. It's so beautiful and so fun. I'm volunteering to host that one.
I think you might be confused with the wrong Dublin, Bobby. This is
Dublin,
Ohio.
Oh, darn. Well, I'm still going to push for Dublin,
no
Ireland.
Hate to the Dublin, Ohio folks, but I could see how Dublin, Ireland might be a little bit more exciting.
All you guys show up to Dublin, Ohio. I'll be live remote in Dublin, Ireland.
In Dublin.
All by myself via satellite. Introducing the Irish to, and that's it's actually a big Dynamics community over there.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks using Dynamics in Ireland, so I think we've got room for meetups and regionals over there too.
I know. I'm selfishly hoping that maybe we can get a nice meetup community going in like Greece and some beautiful, nice places. So maybe we'll have an excuse to go to Greece. So
next time you're in South Africa, you need to start finding the local people using Dynamics and spreading the word.
There we go. Selfishly, that's why I took the job. Little did you know.
Right, exactly. One of these days, I'm going to get a free ticket.
One of these days.
On the company dime to see. It's all the big plan. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Too funny.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Madison, for joining in on the conversation. And gosh, I didn't even mention the name of the podcast, but we are the Community Dig. Yeah, we talked about it in the last podcast, made a big deal of it, but again, the goal is to dig and dig and dig and dig deeper and learn about our community members and about all the fun stuff we're doing in the community. So I'm excited we got to chat, and I'm sure I'll see you pretty soon on an actual work meeting or something
yes,
important in our own little world.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. And thanks for the Doug community for listening in.
Yep. Take care, all.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
I have way too many words in my head and they have to come out somewhere. So a podcast makes sense.
And it's perfect, right? Like, I'm so honored to be invited as a podcast guest. This is my first podcast ever. I've never done one. I listen to them all the time, but I've never participated in one.
I hear that so often. Like if I ask somebody, hey, how do you feel? Like I just assume that everybody's been on a podcast. For some reason, there's so many of them. And most people are like, oh my God, I don't know. I've never been on a podcast before. What do I say?